I'd been running on fumes for weeks-long hours, sleepless nights, the usual grind. So when a friend told me about this secluded rental deep in the woods outside Asheville, North Carolina, I jumped at the chance. No neighbors, no signal, total peace, he promised. That was exactly what I needed. No noise, no deadlines, no people. I pulled up late Friday afternoon. The cabin was perfect, small, cozy, with pine walls and a big stone fireplace. It felt like something out of a movie, but the woods, they were quiet. Too quiet. Like everything was holding its breath, waiting. By the time I'd unpacked and got a fire going, the sun had vanished behind the trees, and the world outside was just a sea of black. That's when I saw the note. It was nailed to the front door, a yellowed slip of paper fluttering in the evening breeze. The handwriting was rough, uneven, like the words were carved, not written. Whatever you do, it said, don't look out the back window. I chuckled. It had to be a prank left by the last guest, right? An inside joke, but something about the way the letters were pressed so deep into the paper felt serious. I pulled it off the door and tossed it on the kitchen counter, but those words just stared back at me. Don't look out the back window. The cabin had one big, long window facing the woods out back. No curtains, just a pane of glass and the endless, black silhouettes of trees. Even in the daylight, the forest was so dense you couldn't see more than a few feet in. At night, it was just a solid wall of darkness. I poured a drink, sat by the fire, and told myself I was being ridiculous. But every few minutes, my eyes would drift toward that window. I couldn't help it. Then, around 9 p.m., I heard it. A soft tap. I muted the music on my phone and held my breath. Silence. A few seconds later, tap, tap. It was coming from the back of the cabin. My heart started hammering against my ribs. The fire crackled, sending dancing shadows across the floor. My gaze was pulled toward the back window, but the warning echoed in my head. Whatever you do, don't look out the back window. I hesitated. An animal? The wind? It had to be. But the sound wasn't random. It felt deliberate. I grabbed a flashlight, went to the back door, and flipped the outdoor switch. The light flickered on, illuminating an empty porch and the same wall of trees. Nothing. I was about to go back inside when I saw a tiny piece of paper nailed to the outside of the doorframe. My stomach lurched. I slowly opened the creaking door and aimed the flashlight. Same messy handwriting. Same exact message. Whatever you do, don't look out the back window. I slammed the door, locked it, and backed away, my hands shaking. This wasn't a prank. No one could have put that there without me hearing them. I checked my phone, of course. No service. The rest of the night was a blur of fear. I left every single light on and forced myself to face away from that window, but I could feel it behind me, like an open wound. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind made me jump. Sometime after midnight, sheer exhaustion finally knocked me out. I woke up to a freezing cold cabin. The fire was dead, but morning light was filtering through the trees. For a second, everything felt normal again. Then I saw the front door. There was another note nailed to it. Fresh paper, splintered wood. You looked, but I hadn't. I was sure of it. Or had I? Maybe just a quick glance in the dark. The thought made my skin crawl. I packed my bags in a frenzy. I didn't care about the refund. I just had to get out. As I threw my bag into the car, I risked one last look back at the cabin, and that's when my blood ran cold. Through the back window, half hidden by the reflection on the glass, stood a figure, motionless, watching me. It looked just like me. Same jacket, same posture, and it was holding a note. I was too far away to read it, but I didn't have to. I knew exactly what it said. I drove until I finally got a bar of signal and called the rental company. I told them everything. The notes, the figure. The woman on the other end went silent for a long moment before saying, "Sir, that cabin shouldn't have any windows in the back. It was boarded up years ago, after an incident." "What incident?" I demanded. She wouldn't answer, just said they'd refund my money and hung up. That night, back in the safety of my own home, I tried to sleep, but around 3 a.m., I was woken by a knock on my front door. 3 soft taps. I froze. The sound came again, slower this time. I crept to the peephole, nothing but darkness. Then I looked down and saw it, a slip of yellow paper being pushed under the door, with trembling hands. I picked it up. "Whatever you do, don't look out the window." And before I could stop myself, I did. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Stay safe out there. I never really bought into ghost stories. Sure, I believed in things that go bump in the night, but usually, it was just the house settling, the wind, or a loose floorboard. Logic could explain almost anything. My buddy Leo and I ran a small YouTube channel exploring abandoned places, and our goal was simple: make creepy-looking places seem even creepier for views. Our next target was the Windmere Seaside Hotel, an old resort north of Portland that had been abandoned since the 80s. The story goes that a storm flooded the ground floor, and the owners just walked away. Online forums, of course, swore it was haunted. We didn't believe it. We just wanted the easy content: long, empty hallways, decaying furniture, and the dramatic sound of waves crashing against the rocks below. We arrived just as the sun was setting, The ocean wind whistled through shattered windows, and the lobby air was thick with the smell of salt and decay. Even though it hadn't rained, the carpet was spongy and wet under our boots. With the power out, our flashlights cut through the thick, dusty air. The front desk was a time capsule, complete with cracked room keys and a rotary phone that was more rust than anything else. Leo pointed his camera at it and joked, "Imagine if this thing started ringing right now." We both laughed. We really shouldn't have. For about an hour, we filmed everything. I got some great shots of the grand ballroom, where a piano sat with half its keys missing. I filmed the dining hall, tables overturned, and plates cemented in grime. Every sound we made seemed to echo back at us, like the hotel itself was mimicking our every move. By 9 p.m., we were ready to call it a night. We had plenty of footage, and honestly the place was starting to get under our skin. It felt like the walls were listening. Leo wanted one last shot. He'd stand at the front desk and pretend to check out. Classic eye set up the tripod as he framed the shot, leaning on the counter with a big grin for the camera. And that's when we heard it. Asterisk click. Asterisk. It was a sharp, mechanical sound from the wall behind him. I figured it was just our gear, but then came a familiar crackle, the static hiss of an old speaker waking up. Leo looked over at me, his smile gone. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Before I could even respond, a voice echoed from the intercom. It was calm, steady, and impossible to place as male or female. "Checkout time is over." Every hair on my arm stood on end. Leo let out a nervous laugh. "You got that on camera, right? Please tell me you got that." I couldn't speak. I just stared at the speaker, listening to the faint sound of breathing through the static. Then, the voice came again, softer this time. "Guests are not permitted after hours." We were frozen solid. Leo slowly walked around the counter, shining his light on the wall until he found the intercom panel. It was a dusty, metal box, hanging half off the wall. The wires were loose and disconnected. There was no power. He tapped it. "This thing's dead. It can't." Asterisk click dot asterisk. The voice returned. Louder this time. "Room inspection in progress." And at that exact moment, a door slammed shut down the hall. It wasn't the wind. This was a heavy, deliberate slam. Leo's flashlight beam shot toward the sound as I grabbed the camera. My hands shaking so badly the footage was probably useless. "Someone's in here," he whispered. We bolted for the front door, the same one we'd entered through. But now, it was closed. I didn't remember closing it. I tried the handle, it was locked solid. Asterisk click, asterisk the intercom again. "Late departure detected." The words seemed to reverberate through the entire hotel. Then, we heard footsteps from the floor above us. Slow, uneven, like someone dragging their feet. Leo pointed his light up the stairwell, but there was nothing there. We decided to try the side exit near the ballroom. As we turned the corner, another speaker crackled to life above the dining area. "Front desk to housekeeping. Guests refusing to leave." My heart plummeted into my stomach. This wasn't a recording. It was responding to us. "Run," I screamed. We sprinted toward the ballroom, but the intercoms came alive one by one, chasing us down the hall. "Checkout time is over. Checkout time is over." The voices overlapped, becoming a terrifying chorus of static and breathing. Leo yanked the side door handle, and it flew open. We burst out into the cold night air, the ocean wind hitting us like a punch. I risked one last glance back. For a split second, I swear I saw a dim yellow light flicker on at the front desk, as if someone had just flipped a switch. Then the intercom spoke one final time, its voice carrying out into the empty parking lot. "All guests accounted for." We didn't stop driving until we hit the highway, the miles passing in absolute silence. Later, when I finally dared to look at the footage, my blood ran cold. Right before that first asterisk, click asterisk, the camera had caught something in the reflection of a mirror behind the front desk. It was the faint outline of a person in an old hotel uniform, leaning toward the intercom microphone. And even though we heard that calm, clear voice, the reflection's mouth never moved. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this, please hit that like button and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there. I renovate old, forgotten places. Last summer, the job was the Waverly Inn, an abandoned coastal hotel set for demolition. It was a 3-story building clinging to a cliff, overlooking gray water. It might have been charming once, before the paint peeled and the windows hazed over from years of sea salt. The company just needed a quick inspection before they tore it down. I went alone, as always, flashlight, camera, clipboard. The power was long dead, and the air was thick with dust and decay. Every step I took echoed through the empty halls, answered by the creak of boards that hadn't felt weight in years. The deeper I went, the colder it got, as if the ocean wind itself was seeping through the walls. I started on the second floor. Most rooms were identical, stripped beds, cracked mirrors, moldy curtains. But room 217 was different. The door was swollen shut, like something was pushing against it from the inside. When I finally forced it open, a chunk of the frame splintered off. The smell that hit me wasn't rot. It was stale, like air that had been trapped for a lifetime. Inside it looked normal enough, but one wall was wrong. The wallpaper there looked newer, freshly glued compared to the faded floral patterns surrounding it. I ran my hand over it. It was bubbled and soft, like there was moisture behind it. That's when I saw the faint outline of a rectangle, too perfect to be random. Curiosity won? I took out my utility knife and started peeling. The paper came away easily, revealing an old wooden frame, a hidden door. There was no knob, just a rusted latch sealed with old paint. I pried it open. The smell that rushed out was cold and metallic, like wet stone. My flashlight beam cut through a thick layer of dust. This wasn't a closet, it was another room, a smaller one, perfectly preserved. The wallpaper was a clean, pale blue. A small bed sat against the wall, sheets tucked in tight. But the strangest part? There was an indentation in the mattress, as if someone had just been lying there. I stood frozen, listening. The hotel was silent except for the wind. Then, from deep inside the wall, I heard breathing, soft and shallow, like someone trying not to be heard. My flashlight flickered. I stumbled back, catching my boot on a floorboard. When I steadied the light, the bed had changed. The indentation was deeper, as if someone was now sitting up. The air turned icy. I could see my own breath. I felt a low vibration under my feet, a groan from the hotel's very structure, and then thawed. A heavy, single sound from the wall behind the bed. I backed away, fumbling for my phone to take a picture. My shaky flashlight beam swept across the room one last time, and I saw it. Carved deep into the headboard were 3 words: "Do not open." I ran. I didn't close the door, didn't look back. I just sprinted down the hallway until I was outside, gasping in the damp sea air. The hotel loomed behind me, its black windows staring like empty eyes. I sat in my truck for a long time before my hands stopped shaking enough to start it. That night, I uploaded the photos for my supervisor. That's when I saw it. In the picture of the hidden room, right on the edge of the bed, was a hand. Pale, thin, with fingers slightly curled. But that's not what keeps me awake. 2 days later, the demolition foreman called. I asked him if they found the hidden room. He paused. What room? I described it: the blue walls, the bed. He swore that when they stripped the wallpaper, there was nothing but solid concrete behind it. I sent him the photo. He called back an hour later, his voice shaking. "There's something wrong with your picture," he said. "If you look at the reflection in the mirror, someone's standing behind you." I was alone in that hotel. I thought I was. The Waverly Inn is gone now, just a parking lot. But last week, a letter arrived with no return address. Inside was a small square of pale blue wallpaper, and scratched underneath it, a message: "Room still here. Thanks for listening to my story." If you enjoy tales from the unsettling corners of the world, make sure to follow and subscribe for more. Stay safe out there.